right, so erasing something here. We are going to talk about factoring trinomial expressions. Now we need to know how to do this if we're going to solve equations, quadratic equations specifically. Anything that's, of the form, we have that ax squared plus bx plus c, right? And if it's an equation, it will be equal to something, right? Usually it's equal to 0, but it could be equal to other things. But what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about just factoring these expressions. Now, it's called an expression because there's no equal sign, right? There's no equal sign. So if there's no equal sign, it's an expression. If there's an equal sign, it's called an equation, right? Kind of makes sense, equal equation, right? And the ones we're going to look at for this series of videos today are ones that have a leading coefficient of 1, all right? Your leading coefficient is your a, right? Leading coefficient is your a term, right? It's your a term. And we're going to look at ones where it's 1. All right, and so we're going to do this by using distributive property and grouping, and we're going to teach you guys a specific method called the AC method, okay? And then we'll look at a couple special cases with this, and then you'll have a chance to practice. And for my students this year, 22-23, it is the practice is on Alex. Okay, so I think the best way to get going on this is just to do a bunch of them, right? So do a couple. All right, so we've got this thing here for your reference. It says to factor trinomials of this form, which we wrote down. Find two integers m and p with a sum of b and a product of a, c. All right, so it's kind of all these letters. It's a little confusing. I guess what they're saying is when you look at your expression, right, you want to find something that you're going to have two numbers, right, that add up to b, but that also multiply together to give you what you get when you multiply your a and your c term together, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to write it out in expanded form, and then we're going to factor it by grouping. Okay, so let's just do this. All right. So first of all, my a and my c term are, well, your a term in all of these, right, is 1, right? So a is 1, and then your c term is this guy right here, right? And that's 3. And so 1 times 3 is 3. And then you ask yourself, what are factors of AC, which is this right here, a times c? What factors of that would be 1 and 3, right? Or you could do -1 and -3, right? And so what you're looking for is you're looking for the two that add up to give you this number. So we want them to add up to give us +4. Well, the only two that add up to give you +4 are 1 and 3, because -1 and -3 would give you -4. So 1 and 3. So it's going to be this one right here, because 1 plus 3 equals 4. So now what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this. We're going to go x squared plus, and then we're going to use this first term here. We're going to go 1x, right, plus, and now we're going to write this second term, 3x plus 3. And hopefully you can see that this is an equivalent expression to this. Like, this is the same as this. This is just simplified version of this. So what we did is we expanded it by doing this method so that now we can do factor by grouping, and you're going to see something kind of cool happen here. All right, so these first two terms we can factor out in x, right? And you got x plus 1. And this next two terms we can factor out a 3. And that gives you x plus 1. So this is just, if you're unsure what I'm doing right now, go back and watch the factor by grouping videos. Okay, and you want to get a common factor. You want to get a common factor out of both of those, and I got that right here. I got x plus 1, and so now we're going to factor out our x plus 1, and then whatever's left, I affectionately call it the leftovers. This and this you put together in another set of parentheses, and you wind up with two binomials that are grouped and multiplying by each other. And this is an equivalent expression of this. This is a much easier way for us to use to get ourselves to a point where we can solve these things, right? Otherwise, if you just leave them in this form right here, it's just, it ain't gonna work. It's too much, right? Okay, let's erase this chicken scratch I got right here. Okay, now let's do another example, okay? And so this example we're going to do here, we have a negative b term, all right? And so when we're looking at our factors of a and c, we're going to, the only way you can add numbers together, if they multiply together and give you a positive, and they add together and they're negative, the only way that can work is if you have two negatives. But we'll just look at all the factors together. All right, so we've got 1 for our a term, that's in front of the m squared. And then our c term is this guy right here, 32. So we got 1 times 32, which is 32. Factors of AC, which is 32, right, would be, we got all kinds of them. We got 1 and 32, right? And then we got the negative versions of that, right? We have 2 and 16, all right? And we'll go -2, -16, -1, -32. 3 does not go into it, 4 does. We got 4 and 8, -4, -8, right? And then 5 doesn't go in, 6 doesn't go in, 7 doesn't go in, 8 goes in, but then you're just, it's redundant because we already got this. So these are our factors, all right? And so now 1 plus 32 is 33. I need -12. And so you can see how these positive ones are going to give you positives. So we're not going to use any of these. We're going to use the negative ones. -1 and -32 is -33, still too big. -2, -16 adds up to -18, which is too big. But -4 and -8, jackpot, right? All right, so let's rewrite this. We're going to go m squared minus, and now we're going to use this 4m, right? And then we're going to use the -8, -8, and then we'll put our variable there. So what we did is we decomposed this into two numbers that I know will multiply and give me that. And then your plus 32, and then dive into your factor by grouping. All right, so let's pull out an m here. That's about, yeah, that's about all I can pull out. That's going to give me m minus 4. Minus, and I can pull 8 out of both of these. And this is going to give me m. And because it's a negative, and I want to wind up with the positive, I need a negative sign there. And then what do I multiply by -8 to get positive 32? Well, -4, right? So that worked out. And so here's my common factor that I want to get out in front. So pull that out. And then we have m minus 8. Okay? So this is my new factored form. And this is pretty much the general way to do factoring using this grouping method. Okay, there's going to be more videos on this that show you examples where with different kinds of negative signs and stuff like that. But this is the basic concept. All right, if you can get the basics of this down, right? This is the basics. If you can get the basics of this down, that will be a really good launch point for you. Okay, we're going to stop the vid, and we will pick it up with some other examples.